If you look at the bottom portion of the 2024 Miami Open draw, you're gonna find two of the best servers in the whole world. And one of them is called Martin Damm. I made a video about him a while back. He has the potential to do so much damage on tour once he gets his ranking up. It was nice to see him pass a couple of rounds at the Miami Open before losing in 2 tiebreaks to O'Connell. Now another guy that I consider one of the best servers in the world is Tallon Griekspoor. Now after I made my video about Martin Damm, who happens to be very tall, a lot of you guys said, well, it's easy for him to serve well because he's tall. Well, in Tallon's case, he is tall, but nothing out of the extraordinary. He happens to be 6'2", but he has one of the most powerful serves and one of the most accurate serves in the world. At the US Open, he served 149 miles an hour. And in today's video, I'm gonna break down Tallon's serve technique, and of course, I'm gonna tell you what you can learn from it. Even though Tallon is ranked very high and has been playing really well for a while now, yesterday, I think a lot of people got to know him because he almost beat Yannick Sinner, won the first set 7-5 and then lost a tight second set 7-5. He put himself in a legitimate chance to beat the best player in the world right now. Now, the one thing that's a little unorthodox on Tallon's serve is the fact that he tosses the ball with a straightforward toss arm position. 5 years ago, I made a video on the 3 different ways the toss arm can go up prior to releasing the ball. So you can move the toss arm up parallel to the baseline, you can move it diagonally into the court, which is the most common style, and the least common style is a straightforward arm position. There was one player in the past, Robin Söderling, who had a forward toss arm positioning. So Tallon does the following. He has a rhythm where he will initiate the toss off his back foot. So he tosses the ball forward, and now when you have a forward toss arm position, you're not going to get a coil early in your tossing motion. In other words, the coiling of the upper body and the loading has to come later. This can also, of course, be true for other toss styles as well. But with the other toss styles, you have the option, for example, when you go parallel to the baseline, to start turning a little bit early in the motion. You don't have that option when the toss arm goes straight forward. Now, Tallon also has a toss that's quite high. And why does he do that? Well, it perfectly syncs the rhythm on his serve because he happens to serve with a lag, but it's not a continuous lag. So there are 2 types of lag serves. There's the lag where the racket lags behind the toss arm, but it doesn't stop here. It's an uninterrupted motion where the toss arm leads the way, and as soon as the racket hits this spot, it starts going up continuously. On the other hand, there are some players who will toss the ball first, and now the racket pauses here before going up towards the trophy phase. And when that is the case, this type of style on the serve always requires a higher toss. Now, Tallon doesn't go very far back with his racket. The arm stops somewhere around here, and from here the arm starts going up towards the trophy phase. Now, he happens to hit one of the best loading positions that I've seen in a long time, because if you take a look at his elbow, it is slightly below the level of his dominant shoulder while the toss arm is extended. If you connect a line between his elbow and the tip of his fingers on his left hand, it is a straight line that's tilted. Now, despite Tallon's straight arm delivery on the toss, he does load his body exceptionally well regarding the coiling positions. So his elbow goes behind the body, but it's not only that, he also bends his body backwards and forward. He also has a perfectly timed pinpoint stance serve. So when the racket is about to hit the trophy phase, this is when his back foot moves up to the front foot, so that when he reaches the trophy phase, his body is fully loaded and there's absolutely not a hint of a racket drop leak on his serve. Now, interestingly, Tallon has a pinpoint style that's somewhat rare. A lot of players in the past used to have this style. Even today, you'll still find players with this style, and that is one where the back foot comes slightly on the outside. When this is the case, the vast majority of the weight is going to be distributed towards the front foot. And you can see this because when he gets into his pinpoint stance, the back heel is higher off the ground than the front heel. So very little weight is put on that back foot. Now, Tallon also leans into the court very aggressively prior to unloading. So you can say that he hits every single power source that's available to him. So in addition to most likely having good genetics and a fast arm, he uses all the natural ways of getting power that are available to him. So he serves with a pinpoint stance, he has a higher toss, he serves with a lag, and he loads his body in the absolute perfect way. Tallon goes for his serve, so he does try to hit the outright ace or a service winner on the vast majority of his serves. He also happens to deliver a pure flat serve, in addition to, of course, mixing his serve up as well. I think with this serve, he has the potential to do extremely well on fast surfaces, such as indoors or grass. It's going to be very interesting to track this player and see how it does in the coming months or years. I do think that he has the potential to be the next top 10 player from the Netherlands, because the Netherlands have not seen a player of this caliber since Richard Krajicek, who also happens to be one of the greatest servers of all time. And now, most importantly, what can you learn from Tallon's serve? Well, you can learn a lot. For example, the fact that you shouldn't be afraid of a higher toss, because the high toss needs to make sense. So let's say, for example, that you have a speedy service motion, a continuous service motion, and you also happen to have a toss that's very high. This is obviously going to cause problems. If you feel like you're hitting the ball towards the top of the string bed, or maybe you're even whiffing the ball, or you're hitting the top of the frame, you're probably throwing the ball too high. But if you happen to have a slower rhythm, maybe you have a rhythm that's interrupted where you pause the racket, or you have a non-continuous lag, you indeed need a higher toss to match your rhythm. So a high toss is not wrong if it's connected to the right type of style of serve. You can also learn from Tallon's serve that you shouldn't be afraid of a lower elbow position. You should definitely be afraid of a higher elbow position. So if your elbow in the trophy phase of your serve ever gets above the level of your shoulder, you're going to reduce the range of motion, and this is going to hurt your power and your consistency on your serve. The elbow can be in line with the shoulder, but the elbow also can be below the level of the shoulder. Remember a guy named Andy Roddick? Did you see the female player Noskova, who took out Swiatek at the Australian Open and almost beat her again yesterday in Miami? She has a low elbow position. Maybe you've seen my video on the ace queen, Karolina Pliskova, who also happens to have a low elbow position. A low elbow position is not wrong because it increases the range of motion on your serve. The elbow is supposed to go up and out. So the higher you have your elbow, the less range of motion you have. Tallon has his elbow below the level of the shoulder. So next time you check your serve in slow motion footage, if you see a position of the elbow that's below your shoulder, do not be afraid of that. Of course, there are extremes, and if your elbow is tucked in here and almost touching your body, that's in a position of the elbow that's too low. But anywhere from here to here, this is an elbow position that is fundamentally correct on your serve. Another thing that you can learn on Tallon's serve is the fact that you shouldn't be afraid to load the front foot on your serve. Why? Because the vast majority of players in the history of tennis always loaded their front foot on their serves. And why is that? Because the vast majority of players in the history of tennis have always leaned in on serve. I made a video about this subject a couple of years ago, and if you lean forward on your serve, it's going to be close to impossible to load the back foot. Naturally, as your body weight goes forward, more of the weight will be distributed towards the front foot. Now, this can be balanced out by you bending your body forward in a reverse C position. The more you bend, the less of that weight will be on the front foot. But generally speaking, if you lean forward, it's going to be natural that more of the weight is distributed towards the front foot. So when you check slow motion footage of yourself and you see that on your pinpoint stance, only the tip of your back foot is touching the ground and you're worried about that, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. This is something that you see among the best servers in the history of tennis. And finally, another thing that you can learn from Tallon is to not be afraid to deliver the flat serve. I see so many players that come to me who are in the developing stages of serving, and they started with the kick serve, okay? And now what happens is that because they start with the kick serve, the body remembers these movements, muscle memory is built, and when they then try to learn a flat serve, they have kick serve characteristics on their flat and their slice serve. And I see this across all levels, even high-level juniors. And yes, there are even some elite level players with kick serve characteristics on their flat serves. And when that's the case, you're gonna lack fundamental elements on your flat serve, and you're not gonna be able to deliver your maximum control and, most importantly, your maximum power.